Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Craig Peters here from Soundiron, and in today's walkthrough, I'm going to be taking you guys through the sounds of Hopkin Instrumentarium Metaltines, which is the newest installment from the creative mind of Bart Hopkin. So this library is packed with a bunch of really interesting and unique and never heard before sounds because all of these instruments are hand-built by Bart himself. And it's really cool to sort of peek in and see sort of the things that he has in his mind and what he tries to take from more like the approach of a more traditional instrument that maybe you've heard before, but really putting a totally different spin on it. So it's really cool to see sort of how all of these libraries evolve and how they all sort of sound and how they all have their own unique flavors and interesting characters. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys some of the different sounds. I want to mention this library is made for the free Contact 6 player and works with all NKS standard hardware. So if you have a complete control keyboard, you'll be able to get a little more functionality out of it. And when you first load up the library, you'll see that there's 6 NKIs and a folder for custom effects presets, which contain 20 custom effects presets that we all made ourselves. And yeah, so let's just go ahead and just start playing through some of the sounds. All right, so getting into some of the sounds of the library, when you first load up the library, you'll see that there's these 4 different layers. And the first thing that you heard me play in the beginning of the video is just basically taking all the different layers and applying a different arpeggiator to all of them and then doing a little bit of panning. So you can see when you go to this little drop-down window, you'll see the different LFO, filter, and arpeggiator controls that you have. And what I did is I went through each layer and just gave it its own arpeggiator rhythm, and just kind of playing around with it real quick, not trying to get any, trying to get too crazy with it, but just enough to sort of have a lot of interplay with the different rhythmic stuff. All right, so let's kind of play with it a little bit. So if you want, you can kind of, so just these different arpeggiator grooves. So, and this is utilizing all of the different sounds of the library. You got the K1 and K2 Metaltines, you got the sit and play and the T-rod. So with Metaltines, not only does it come with different instruments to choose from, it also has different articulations in the way that they're played. So if you go to this little drop-down menu, you'll see that you have the rubber, metal, hard, ping pong, rubber hand pick, finger, and then mallet bottom. So you have different sort of tones and timbres to choose from. And with this, I haven't really gone through anything like that yet, but let's just go ahead and just play a little bit of the sounds again. So I like how that one kind of makes it easy for you to just kind of lay your hands on the keyboard and just sort of just play around and hold chords. So it doesn't stop there, because one of the other cool things that you can do is if you want to say, here, let me go ahead and bypass these. So these little icons right here, this will basically enable and disable the layer. So right now we're only listening to layer 1. So and right now I have that panned in the center. So let's say I want to keep that, then let's go ahead and add layer 2. So what you can do, if let's say you want to keep layer 1 just where it is, you can leave it, and then let's put layer 2, let's keep that on layer A. And what this does is this corresponds to the X-fade slider. So then you can attach that to any sort of knob on the complete control, or any sort of expression controllers that you might have. You can map it to that and then crossfade between them. So layer A will be at the bottom of whatever knob, slider, or mod wheel. And then if you go to, let's say, layer 3, let's turn that on now. So maybe let's put that on layer B. And then let's take layer 4 and let's put that on layer B too. Why not? So now what we can do is go ahead and just right click this. Now it's mapped to the mod wheel. Now let's just go ahead and play. So you know that little roll that was crescendoing up before, it's not there because now that's mapped to the top of the mod wheel. So being able to do that kind of expands on the fact that you can separate each instrument by different layers and really sort of create some interplay between the different ones. So it makes it really easy to control that stuff on the fly and less work you have to do later on. All right, so now let's go ahead and check out the Metaltines Mic 2 NKI and just play through some of the sounds. This one has a ton of low end. What I like about this one, when you get towards the bottom range of the keyboard, you'll hear that the sounds have this kind of like bell-like chime to it. Now let's go ahead and check out the K2. Definitely has a different sound from the first one, and I like this because it has a very sort of, if you want to play it soft, it sounds very kalimba-like. So it's very responsive to how you play. Gets a little snappy more towards the top of the velocities. And then from here you can choose each different note. So let's say there's a note that you really like the specific sound and tone of it. You can choose that and then have the rest of it mapped to the keyboard. And then we got the sit and play. Let's go ahead and check that out. So you can see it has a very different sound from the previous one. It has a little bit more of like a warmer character to it. Now let's go ahead and check out the T-Rod. Again, very different sound. What I like about these instruments and the whole Hopkin Instrumentarium series in general is just how different everything sounds. Like when you play it, your first thought is, you know, maybe like, oh, that kind of resembles an instrument that I'm familiar with. Or sometimes you're just like not really sure what it is, which is cool because, you know, maybe you have some kind of composing gig and they want you to use sounds and stuff that's not very common to, you know, maybe any type of film score or game or whatever. So it's always cool to just have a collection of just various different unique and weird sounds, just because you never know when you might need them. All right, so now let's go ahead and check out the Sit and Play NKI, and this one is just a dedicated NKI for this instrument. And you'll see you have two different mics to choose from. You can go ahead and layer them both up. So you can see that one, that second mic, you can hear that buzz. And then you can go ahead and choose different ones. So if, let's say, you want more of a finger note on the second mic, you can do that. And the library also comes with some handcrafted ambiences and drones and pads to play with. And you can see there's a whole list. There's 25 different ones to choose from. So let's just go ahead and start from the top and see what kind of stuff comes with it. It's a cool one. Kind of like a weird, gurgly, slimy sound. You'll hear with some of these, as you play higher on the keyboard, anything that's got kind of a more like rhythmic sort of ambient sound to it, it'll speed up a little bit. So you have like a, almost sounds like a computer about to glitch out or something, and then, so it's pretty cool if you need that kind of sound. And then you also have a sub-synth layer, and this is cool for if you just want to layer up the sounds with some different sine waves. So you have, let's just go ahead and solo it. So if you want to hear just the sound. And then if you want, you could pitch it down. Say you want to pitch it down an octave. And then layer that in with an ambience. Get a little bit more low end out of it. Now let's go ahead and play through the T-rods on Tines NKI. So then we got these metal sounds. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the arpeggiator on and then just cycle through the sounds so you can kind of hear them. And if we want, we can go ahead and add an ambience into it. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, the library comes with 20 custom effects presets. So let's just go ahead and play through some of those so you can get an idea of how they sound. Alright, so that about wraps it up for this walkthrough of Metaltines. If you want to learn more about Metaltines or any of the other instruments in the Hopkin Instrumentarium series, make sure to go to soundiron.com. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.